Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back, everybody. It's not easy to do this, but once you do, your life moves forward. You realize certain things. The chains come off of you sometimes, but one would not think that with these two words, take responsibility. Do you take responsibility for your actions, your life? Are you doing it now? How do you do it? How do you know if you are? Can actually be your superpower. We're going to talk about that today. She is the woman behind Directions for Wellness, gives you a courage to shine, and just an amazing coach. And she's back with us. Sara Regester is on the program. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm great, Steve. I'm really excited about this conversation around our superpower being how we take responsibility.
As our professional of the year, I am listening very clearly. Part of me is like, it sounds like it's going to hurt. Take responsibility. Have you taken responsibility for your life? But we need to. But they get accountability at the very least. Why is it hard for us to own up certain things?
Well, I would say that part of it is we don't want to look bad. For example, if I make a mistake, I need to take responsibility for the consequences of my error or my misspeak or my lack of judgment. And so I can go internally into the internal dialogue and beat myself up over something I've done or something I've said. But in the end, it's like when I lean into it and actually say, yep, I did that. And coming forward, like with honesty, integrity, a willingness to either clean it up, clear it up, or find a solution. This kind of takes a grown-up attitude and approach, I would say, that we can't wait for someone else to do it. Many times it is really something for us to step into.
Do you feel that many of us don't realize what can come from just taking responsibility? It just sounds like another chore to stack onto all the things that we need to do, but we don't see the benefit.
Exactly. And so what I know that taking responsibility can impact so many different arenas where we could benefit from making changes or benefit from cleaning up relations with our coworkers or our family. And there's something about what's in it for me in terms of why is it important for me to step up and have some ownership here? How can I not be at the effect of something that's happened where I could go swirling into my emotions and my mental anguish versus how can I really keep the benefit of being solution oriented, of truly like finding the way to clear it up or to make a change. So internal motivation to make any change comes from where we step into our self-responsibility. But if we can't find that willingness to step in and address something or to make a change, we're just going to be sitting back and it's just going to keep going on the way it's been going without any positive movement forward.
So what's the first step?
First step
of taking responsibility
is to make the decision, the choice. Oh, I'm going to say something. Oh, I'm going to have this conversation with someone to make sure we clear it up. Or I'm going to own that mistake I did and take in, what I learned from it and how now I need to take care of the consequences of what I've created. Or even financially, many of us could use some changes in how we spend and save money. So that might even be just a specific arena where we choose to take more responsibility for how we're navigating that part of our life.
Should we write this down and break it into maybe categories of, being intentional here? And again, it's probably going to hurt a little bit, to really own up to certain things. But let's say it was a relationship, and it's on its way out. What role you had, relationships take two. What role you had, what the other person had, and sometimes you had more to do with the situation than the other person. But being real about it, you think writing it down so we see it in front of us is helpful?
It can be
Mm.
journaling about it, but I think it's the recognition that what keeps us from self-responsibility many times is blame, doubt, resistance,
Mm.
our own kind of proclivity to like back off, to not trust what we need to do, or to think it's someone else's job. And I think that in relationships that are not thriving, going into blame is of the other person is not going to be productive. It's not going to build a bridge to try to clear things up, even if the relationship will end. The more we can step into what I'm responsible for, this is my part, this is what I can own, this is what I can clear up or clean up. This is where the bridge between myself and another person can be more empowering and less attacking or hurtful or emotionally charged is when we kind of keep it about what's within my circle that I can do instead of you, of what that blame sounds like, where we're not actually owning my part in that dance that we did together.
I heard this recently, kind of woke me up a little bit, in that you make commitments to yourself and you don't honor them, whatever it might be. You are essentially lying to yourself and you're not being authentic to yourself. And when you see it that way, it's, whoa, okay. It wasn't just, I'm going to exercise 4 times this week. And I only did 2, but so what? I didn't, you made a commitment. Would you do that to somebody else? And you literally lied to yourself. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Do you see it that way?
Yes, in the sense that it's important that I find for me what's in it for me. If I exercise 4 times a week, what's the gain? What am I giving myself? And there's another kind of spin of self-responsibility that there is some discipline and follow through, that is part of the energetic that would be the same as how we keep our agreements with ourselves as well as our agreements with other people. And agreements with ourselves often get wobbly.
Mm.
If I don't have strong bottom lines of why something's important to me, or what about doing this particular commitment is going to help me get into another place in my life, whether it's making change or enhancing myself in some way. And it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to forget, our self commitments and to lose that connection to our self responsibility. It's something
Mm.
that takes like keeping it on the radar as again, where we open this conversation, a choice I'm making to take action or to not take action.
Mm. Why is it important to me? That's a key thing there. And I think I share with you, I'm in a men's group and we make commitments to ourselves weekly. And then one of the men holds us, every week we rotate who you do. We call them dailies. We have calls with each other. Could be a 2-minute phone call, could be longer, whatever. But the question is, how are you doing with your commitments? So there's accountability. But I'm seeing something else here, that when we share our commitments with each other and we're in a group chat, I think we should add to it, why is it important to me? It's easy to say, "Man, I'm going to go to the gym 4 times this week, at least an hour." Why? What's your why? When you see that, when you say that, it carries more weight, right? Maybe more guilt to make sure that you get it done, maybe so that you don't lie to yourself. But you just said it. Why is it important? I don't think of it in that way. I just write them down and hope that I stick to them.
Yes, and that's the difference, I'll say, of like having a commitment like a New Year's resolution. You write them down, I'm going to do it this year, or for the next 30 days, I'm going to do this. But when you actually work with a coach like myself,
Hmm.
that's important that we explore like what about this is important? What are you actually investing in for yourself? And it might not be what it looks like on the surface. Many times there's a much deeper value, maybe like freedom, autonomy, me time. I mean, there's really important ones, and people aren't always aware of the values at play that keep their motivation going or that might block that taking in the responsibility of their commitment to themselves.
Taking responsibility. What else can you share with us?
Well, what I can share is that I never really recognized it as a superpower until I've been having these recent conversations with people. And, in the arena of health and healing, for example,
Mm.
people think they take the pill and I'll get better. I follow the doctor's order and I'm gonna, it's gonna go away. And we've talked about the mind, body, spirit of health and wellness before.
Yep.
And there's something about I need to take responsibility for how I'm changing my lifestyle, how I'm addressing my diet, how am I reducing my stress in a way that I'm feeling more resilient in my life. And so that's what an example that, in the arena of healing anything, as I say, the finances, relationships, our physical health, there's a certain amount of when you actually step in, lean in, take responsibility for your actions, your steps, that is when the change will happen. And often people don't recognize that we just follow the doctor's orders or do like what's on the surface. But when you go deeper, it's like, what can I do to make a difference? How can I show up and bring my energy into this work environment to actually not go down that rabbit hole where we keep going? And so there's a day-to-day decision about where we're going to show up and how we're going to step in and not wait for somebody else to take care of it. And I want to say the other side of this coin is recognizing when it's not ours to take responsibility for, because there's sometimes where it's a no control situation. We're just going to spin our wheels and lose energy if we're trying to fix something that's really not fixable or not ours to do. And
If
so that's tricky.
if you don't take responsibility, what's the flip side? I'm seeing blame. So you're not taking responsibility. Now you're going to blame somebody else, or
Well,
you're going to go down the victim road. Oh, look what happened. No wonder, that kind of thing.
yes, or even complacency by not doing anything at all. Hopefully it'll just go away,
Mm,
you know? And that's kind of like a wish. It's not like taking the bull by the horns.
mm. Um, yeah, like it'll go away, or I don't have to deal with it. Out of sight, out of mind.
Mhm.
The
And I'll say that the other part, pardon me,
Sure.
is the procrastination
Uh,
that happens, that where we're not dealing with it. We do all kinds of things to distract ourselves, where really we're in resistance and not prioritizing. And that can be very energy draining as well, where we're just not quite prioritizing, but we're just very busy with other things that keep us occupied and distracted.
for sure. Guilt. Can we talk about that? Where that might come in, where we might not want to take responsibility because that the guilt hurts.
Yes. Yeah, I would say in this example that comes to mind is guilt is when someone um, uses guilt says you've done something wrong. I've done something wrong. It's not the shame is I'm a bad person. Guilt is I've done something wrong. I've crossed you. And so there's a lot of times where friends, coworkers, partners try to guilt someone into making change. That to get off the couch, to start exercising, to eat better, to stop smoking. Why won't they do it? I keep telling them. And that guilt will never be a motivating factor for someone to actually step in and make those changes happen or to take responsibility for their lifestyle or health or work projects. And so that's where the important thing is to be able to recognize that this has to be a decision that an individual makes on their own from their own value of why it's important. So if I'm going to start exercising, it's not because my partner's guilting me to do it. It's because I actually found the reason within myself of why it's important. And a lot of times in partnerships or work relationships, we try to push people to do things we want them to do. That's not that's not where taking responsibility comes from. It has to be your own choice to do it, to pick it up and to work with it.
Uh, yeah, that's where somebody's trying to guilt you into doing it. That's not what we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about here.
Mm-mm.
Hmm. What else can be impactful in terms of taking responsibility? Seeing this, understanding it, absorbing it.
I think think it can be something as simple as when we see something that needs to be done and no one's addressing it. So that could be something in a work environment that's being ignored or kind of brushed off that would actually be a better process if someone would take the lead on it. So that could be a process thing. But it could be something as simple as out on a hike and picking up some of the litter on the trail. That how often do, out in nature, public places like parks and trails, where you see things people leave behind or their dogs leave behind. And, there's something about, maybe I can take this little step out of my way to clean up the litter because someone else wasn't taking responsibility for cleaning up their own trash. And so that's a small step of being part of the solution is how can we make an environment better than we found it?
Hmm.
And that's a philosophy of really important part of completion of any project or any environment or situation is how can you leave it better than you found it? And that takes intentionality to see that follow through to bring it all those last details into completion.
I didn't even look at it in taking responsibility for things like that. I was thinking more of taking responsibility for our actions, what we do, what we don't do, what we should be doing. Not even something like, walking down the street and seeing trash on the ground and picking it up and throwing it in, the receptacle. That's taking responsibility. So I wasn't even looking at it that way. But is it like the snowball effect down the hill? Once you start doing it, you get in the habit of being more responsible, if you will?
Yes. I mean, it is something you cross train that's once you do it in one area, like I gave the example with your communication at work with coworkers, with your communication at home with your family, and suddenly with your neighbor, you're able to have that bottom line and boundary, stop borrowing my stuff without bringing it back in good order, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is.
Sure.
But to go lean into what you're saying, what I'm hearing that part about taking responsibilities for our emotional well-being, for our happiness. Where am I, triggered where I lashed out at someone or where I'm not being in balanced emotions in my environment with the people I'm around. So there's a certain amount of taking responsibility for our mood, our inner dialogue, our emotional balance. That is another kind of application of this self-responsibility piece. That's the superpower of like being commanding of your own inner environment.
I'm going to share with you. I was going to ask you the last time you took responsibility, and for me, it was actually yesterday. Was pretty major. I was at a venue, and somebody passed out right in front of me. Me and my friends, and it was a girl. She was young, maybe like 22, something like that. Nobody was helping her.
Oh my.
I'm like, there may be one person, and the place is packed. I'm like, this can't be. What is going on here? There was no security around, ridiculous. And I just ran and ran to the outside, downstairs, outside to the gate, found some security. I said, I don't know what's going on here, but we need help. And then they slowly made their way in. I went back to her. I got her a washcloth, put it on her forehead. She was coming to and she was okay. Called 911 but I didn't even know I was doing it. But I guess that's, you see something, do something. Others weren't. I don't understand it. I really don't. I'm like, I just, how could you not? But maybe people are afraid, take responsibility. Well, what about the liability? What if something happens? Then it's my fault. That kind of thing. So I guess I got to see it from both sides. What's going on there in terms of taking responsibility?
Yeah. Well, I would say that people are just going to assume someone else will handle it.
And there's that.
And then they're, oh, that guy, he's taking care of her. Okay, she's in good hands then. And there is a piece here about inaction of the times that we don't take action, where we're not taking responsibility in an opportunity that we will miss to actually touch another human being or to bring healing to a relationship at the office that's been hard to work with someone. And so there's something about it gets back to this, and you often say, well, it's the maturity of who are you as a human that you're willing to touch humanity with your shining, with your talents, your abilities, and you're not afraid to put it out there. And I think that's the repression block, is that when people are just holding back and, afraid of what other will think, afraid of making a mistake, and they're not willing just to put themselves out there, take an action to support someone or support a movement or a cause.
And I know there's lots of reasons why we don't do things, whatever it might be, but we forget how it can make you feel. Like, I still remember, like 3 years ago, I was in a grocery store and this woman was in a little scooter and she was trying to reach something in the frozen food section. And I look and I see she's struggling and I like jumped over 5 different things to get there just to get, here you go. I got you. And she was appreciative. I'm like, you need anything else? I'm in no rush. I'll help you out. She goes, no, I'm good, but thank you. I really appreciate it. I still remember it 3 years ago. I can tell you what store it was, everything, because it made a mark on me. Not that I helped somebody, but more of it made me feel good. So maybe there's a lesson there too that, I don't want to say do it for yourself, but it can make you feel good too. It's all part of it.
Yes. And it's when you can touch another human being that you can make an impact on someone else from what you choose in your actions. And so that's where you could have said, oh, look, she's really struggling there. Poor thing.
Right, poor thing.
But you can see that it's your nature to step in and help other people. You just gave 2 examples that you're going to prioritize, supporting another person in need in the moment spontaneously versus questioning the list of should you help, should you not help? Someone else is going to do it. Let me make a decision here.
That's key.
Acting spontaneously with moments of acts of kindness is actually something that you can train in the moment. Yeah.
It is 3 words, one of the biggest ad campaigns ever, but it's really true. Nike, just do it. Like
Exactly.
you, and what you said is spot on. We overthink it. Like that situation with the person passed out. And by the way, she's going to be okay. Like she was coming to, wasn't like a drug overdose or anything like that. Yeah. I think maybe she was just dehydrated and lost, blood pressure, whatever. But if I sat there and questioned it, I just didn't even think. I'm going to go. That's it. There's nobody around. I got to get somebody. That's it. It's not a big deal. Don't overthink it. I think maybe that's what it comes down to.
And that's the finger comes out. There's the doubt piece. It's the doubt when people don't trust their inner GPS.
Yeah.
Doubt, when you have that hit of instinct or intuition, you need to trust it. And there's people that don't know how to even tune in to what the inner guidance is prompting you to do. So that is probably one of the barriers for people to take responsibility, is they're tuning out what the inner voice is guiding them to do. That inner GPS.
Well said. And that's another missing element here that none of us consider, that your GPS inside is going to guide you. Just listen to it. Should you take responsibility? Not in any of these kind of situations, but even for things that you've done, listen, you'll get the answer. But there's also accountability, taking responsibility for a lot of the, bad habits that we have, moving our lives forward. That's where somebody like you comes in. Hey, I was talking before about commitments and I'm on the phone, I'm going to be talking to one of the men in the group in a little while. He's going to ask me the same question. How do you do with your commitments? That's where you come in, the accountability and much more. How do we find you, Sara?
Well, I'm just wrote a really great blog on this. Responsibility is your superpower. So you'll find me on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, LinkedIn, of course. And it's Sara without an H, Regester with all E's. So spelling my name is one way to find me. And directionsforwellness.com is my website. And my book, where I share a lot of the pearls that we talk about here, is The Courage to Shine and How to Feel Confident Outside Your Comfort Zone, which is on Amazon, Apple Books, and Audible. So I'm pretty easy to find, and I'd love to connect with any of your listeners.
Absolutely.
Give them a little coach.
We all need it. And we need to take responsibility in all different ways. Thank you so much for today. Really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup.
Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.